And hello, fourth and long fans. It is your AFL correspondent, Donnie Hess, here with another one of my Donnie's disposals and a fun little series that I thought we would come up with. Is I know that a lot of you are Americans and you've been highly interested in this new game, Australian rules football. So I thought as a way to kind of show that there are not just me, but many Americans or even non-American born fans of Australian rules football that are here throughout the states and throughout the world. So I thought, let's find a way to communicate with them. So this is our first episode, and I have the great Jameson Manziel with me today. Jameson, how you doing, sir?
Good about yourself.
I am not doing too bad. Fall has gone to winter here in this state, so it's been nice and cold. So much fun, so much fun. How's the weather down in Texas?
It's about 50s, 60s, but for us, that's Christmas weather.
Yeah, I can understand it in December now, slowly getting more. So I thought let's kind of get just a real quick little bio of you, sir, and then we'll kind of go into what club you support and kind of why.
I'm from the area. I lived here all my life. A little bit about me. I'm a Christian, former football player in high school. Um, I am a Freedom Trailman in Trail Life USA, which is a scouting organization here in the States. So faith, family, and football are all pretty important to me.
That's cool. That's cool. So I got to ask. So you're an American football fan. You said you played in high school. What position did
Mhm.
you play?
Well, so I played six-man football, which means you play everything at some point. But I was all state my senior year for running back.
Awesome, awesome. So I got to ask, how did a high school kid in Texas find footy?
It was by accident. So I was looking up on YouTube the Arena Football League, which is AFL, which is a gridiron league here in the States, a minor league. Um, and I stumbled upon a video of Nick Nat Nui under the title AFL. And it said, it looked like a basketball player, right, on grass. That that doesn't look right. So I clicked the video, and it was video of Nick Nat Nui taking an incredible mark over somebody's back. My first question was, is that legal? Is that okay? Right? Because in American football, that looks like a pass interference and stuff like that. Um, but it was awesome, and that took me down a rabbit trail of more videos, trying to find out more about what this sport is. Because obviously, I mean, I had never heard of it. And then in February, I think it was February, when Pat McAfee uh, had Mason Cox on the show, I listened to that. And said, "Hey, wait, there's an American playing this crazy sport down under." Uh, so that actually caused me then to record one of the games that had just started being played. I think in March, maybe. It was round two, GWS v North Melbourne. And that was the
Mhm.
first game I ever watched. Um, I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, that seems to be a fun story. I've tended to notice a lot of these Americans that catch on, but you did know Mason Cox is from Texas, right?
I do. Actually, he's
Yeah,
from Highland Village. That's 3 minutes away from my house.
yeah. And the crazy part about it is, as tall as he was, he never played American football. He never played
Yeah.
American football. He was a soccer player. So I thought it was really interesting. So I mean, so you catch on to it via YouTube, which is absolutely awesome, which I think has been kind of a really common one, but more of a mistake. So I thought that was really, really cool. But I mean, what kept you going? I mean, once American sports started coming back up, once we started having the NFL and baseball started to get going, I mean, what kept you an AFL fan?
I think something different about AFL or Aussie rules, in comparison to NFL and baseball and the like is, it's always going. You've always got to be 70, 80% um, throughout the duration of the game, as opposed to the stoppages and taking breaks. So I was really just amazed at the effort that each and every player has to put out to succeed in the game. So Gary Rowan, I think, kind of encapsulates that. Is that he's so fast. but we got a lot of players in the NFL that are just as fast. However, he's that fast for like the entire game. He's always working hard, and at the very end, you can always see him. He sits down, he puts his hands on his knees, and it's just, I'm done. I've spent everything that I can possibly spend. Right. So it's just you got to have an incredible work ethic to continue to play that game.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is my team, the Sydney Swans. That's where he came from. Gary Rowan played in Sydney
Yeah.
before he came down to Geelong, so he was one of those. I was sad to see him go, but he had family in Geelong, so it was really really cool for me. So I've loved watching him play down there. But so I got to ask, I think you might have tipped your hand just a tiny bit. What's your club?
Yeah. So I'm a Geelong Cat supporter.
Awesome, awesome. And what made you come to that? Was it Gary Rowan specifically? Was it the history? Was it the uniforms? What was it that made you a Cats fan?
It wasn't Gary Rowan at first. To begin with, it was the community actually that kind of brought me in. I was initially between Collingwood and GWS. Collingwood because Mason Cox, and GWS because they were in the first game that I had ever watched, and I ended up cheering for them even though they ended up losing the first game. Um, but when I got onto Twitter, I started communicating with other Aussies and just fans of the game. Geelong Cats fans stuck out to me more than any other club. Just not only do they have history, not only do have they had success and good players, right, which is what you always want in a team, especially if you're trying to find a new one, but they had such a vigor, such an excitement around just kind of their whole club identity, I guess. So Mel Katz from Twitter sent me a couple of videos of Joel Selwood and the Ablets, and I just fell in love. Sometimes you just can't explain when you fall in love, but you know that it happened, right? So that's me.
Yeah, I definitely know the feeling. It was definitely quite interesting when I picked the Swans. Is that the one thing I got to give the Aussie fans is that they're very accepting of fans
Mm-hmm.
internationally, and for many of them, you are kind of the most interesting thing in their life when they start talking to you because they're like, well, how does an American love this sport? So I always love those stories when you meet Aussies over Twitter or Facebook or however you do it. But so I got to go from
Absolutely.
so I got to go from here. One of my favorite questions with fans: are you a casual fan? Are you a diehard? Are you just a fan of the Cats?
So that's an interesting question. So I think I would define casual fan as someone who watches for pleasure but may not keep up with it, between games, right? And a diehard fan is it's almost a religious feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm somewhere in between, but I range more on the side of diehard, in the fact that it kind of it becomes the object of all my attention when the game's on, and even we're in between watching Jeremy Cameron and Isaac Smith, and some of the guys that Geelong signed come. I was waiting with pins and needles for some of those guys to get signed. So I think it's certainly more on the side of Die Hard. It reminds me a little bit of how I feel when I watch my Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I kind of. Oh, those are hard questions sometimes because sometimes Die Hard has a negative connotation. So
Right. Yeah.
so it's kind of a neutral. It's not like they lose a game and you're in a bad mood and everybody's got to deal with it. So it's like I think that's kind of a nice little in between. You're not a casual because you pay
Yeah.
attention to it and all that. So I got to go now. So favorite cat right now, and have you delved into the history to know maybe a favorite cat of the past?
Okay. Favorite cat now is certainly difficult. Um, the guys that caught my eye initially were Tom Hawkins and Gary Rowan, obviously for the scoring, and Rowan just for his speed and his tenacity. Mark Blitzabs might actually have to creep up in there. Just I love the way he played, especially in the finals. Um, Hard worker and one of the more athletic guys, I think, especially for someone so big. Um, I don't know if I can choose between Rowan and Blitzabs right now. I may lean towards Rowan because he was one of the reasons I really got into it.
Mhm.
But that's a certainly hard question. Uh, and then in the past, I I've watched a couple highlight videos of some of the past grand finals. So obviously, I mean, this is my first year, so eventually, I'm sure I'll get to know some of the larger history of the club. But um, obviously, I know Gary Ablett Senior. I love watching his highlights, school kicking, and Travis Varco. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay,
Barco.
yeah. So I initially actually saw him with a video of him with Collingwood to begin with, and then someone pointed out online, hey, he actually played with Geelong before. So I
Hmm.
checked out some of his
Yeah,
highlights.
I think
Just an
that.
athletic dude, fun to watch.
Yeah, I think 2011. He was with them in 2011 with the Collingwood Geelong Grand Final, which is a
Okay,
really good game. I think that might have been one that I actually sent you, if I remember correctly, via
yeah, I
Twitter.
think I watched a good portion of that.
Yeah, that's a really really good grand final. It kind of peters out at the end, but a really good one. So kind of piggybacking off that, favorite game you have seen so far of AFL.
Oof, that's a tough one. Um, well, it's not going to be the grand final because of the result. Uh, I might have to say the favorite one that the team I was cheering for won was probably the uh, Geelong Brisbane. Is that preliminary final? Is that
Hmm.
what? Okay. Um, and then the favorite one that Geelong lost, or that the team I was cheering for lost, was the Carlton Geelong match pretty early on in the season.
Hmm.
It was so close for so long. I think Geelong only lost by about 3 points, but I'll tell you what, Eddie Betts is something else.
Hmm.
Love to watch that guy. Uh,
Definitely one of the more fun ones, definitely. So kind of piggybacking off that is kind of what are your thoughts of your Cats this last season? I know falling one game short in the grand final, pretty impressive team through most of the season. I mean, what are your thoughts as a new fan of your Cats? Are you confident going into next year? Are you skeptical? Are you excited for next season to start? What are your thoughts on this last season and going forward?
Yeah, I'm kind of treating it because I don't really have the Australian viewpoint, right? I'm treating it kind of from an American sports perspective, like how I would, talk about kind of championship windows with football or basketball. Um, in my mind, I think obviously it was awesome to come in the first year and have my team be the team that I chose pretty early on. I chose them in round two after they beat Hawthorn. End up being so successful. Um, and I'm excited to see how they continue to do. I think obviously it was a successful year. Any year you get that far in finals and playoffs, it's a thumbs up. It's a positive. Uh, I would say in the coming years, because we went all in with Jeremy Cameron, and because of the signings that we're getting, I think they're more on the older side. Still talented, obviously, but a little bit, we're not just bringing in young talent, sacrificing some draft picks. So I'm thinking that our championship window is probably our premiership window is probably coming to a close. I think we're going all in for this next year and maybe the year after. Um, but I will say I'm glad we didn't get rid of Asava Radaglia. I'm glad we didn't get rid of Brendan Parfit. Those are guys I think can be the future of the club and continue uh, to raise a legacy.
So I kind of hear you throwing some names out, and it's really, really cool. It's not always. I'm Sometimes I feel kind of weird as an American because I keep track of it so much. I mean, have you been really keeping track of this off season, like how the draft picks, how the trade period, how free agency? I mean, are you going to try to find a way to maybe keep an eye on the drafts coming up? I mean, I know Geelong hasn't got a ton of draft picks,
Right.
especially after the Cameron deal, but I mean, are you excited to maybe see the draft? I mean, what's kind of your thoughts in the off season? Did you keep an eye on it?
Yeah, I kept as much of an eye on him as possible. It's a little bit different than like a trade period or a free agency in American football and American sports. Now, so I had a little bit of trouble understanding certain things, but I really was interested to see because I know Adam Treloar was one of the big names. I know there was a big fiasco with Collingwood. He ended up at Western, did it not?
Hmm. Yep.
Okay,
Western Bulldogs.
awesome. Yeah. Western, I think, is going to be pretty strong this next year. Um, yeah, I kept as close an eye on it as possible. Also, just good for an academic sense,
Mhm.
more than anything. I want to learn. I love learning culture. Um, how I think sports almost represent different cultures, if you will, right? So you can tell a lot about how a group functions, how whether it be an ethnic group or a nation or whatever. I think you can tell a lot about how that group thinks and functions based on their sport. Um, it's almost like a language, right?
Mhm.
Um, so if nothing else for an academic sense, I love just learning about it. And for the draft, I've watched videos. Footy A to Z is a really good YouTube channel that teaches a lot about how the game works and a little bit of the history. But I'll tell you what, even after watching their draft video, I still can't understand a whole lot of it. But I'm excited. I'm hoping they stream it to some degree so I can watch it live.
Yeah,
Um,
if I remember correctly, though, the only fun part is that it starts at 2 a.m. our time, since you and I are in the
whew,
central time zone. So yeah, it starts 7 p.m. there. Just I did the
mm-hmm.
math, 2 a.m.
Goodness.
Did anybody explain to you kind of the father son? Do you get kind of the father son deal and how all that goes?
I have a basic idea
Mhm.
of kind of how the father son. I think that's a really cool deal. I'm sure some of the famous families in American sports would have actually really enjoyed that. I can imagine Peyton Manning coming to like the Saints or something of that sort, as opposed to going to Indy.
Well, it's like thinking about it as like think about Emmett Smith if he had a son that was really good at football,
Oh
automatically
yeah,
going to the Dallas Cowboys or
I would love
some
that. Those are
some of the
those are good genes. I want to keep that
yeah,
in the in the
exactly.
club.
And that's kind of the fun thing. And then kind of this with the same thing with father and son is you also have the academy kid, which is kind of like
Hmm.
European soccer where if you develop them the bidding system, I know it's a beast to try to figure out this. It really is
Yeah,
confusing. There's still Australians that have no idea what the heck is going on. So it is a lot of fun, and I think it's very very interesting. And one of the things that I think this audience is learning along as well with you and even myself a little bit. I've been keeping an eye on the draft the last couple of years. Been really kind of getting back into it, and they do. I know Draft Central on Twitter just put out their basically guide to it, which has got profiles of players and stuff like that. So that's a good thing to check out if you have a chance. I think I
yeah,
retweeted it. I think I'll tweet it at you after the show's over, and you can take a look at it. I mean, it's like 144 pages of just
goodness.
profile. It's got profiles of each of the players. It's got all the draft picks, and the funny thing is, it's already null and void because they had two trades this morning. So yeah, because the other thing about it is that with this draft is that unlike American sports where you can trade players and draft, the only thing that can be traded from now until draft night are picks. That's it. There's no
Interesting.
players, and it's kind of interesting. So going off an American, just real quick, are there any American things that you would like say it'd be interesting to see if they tried it, like a midseason trade period, the difference of the free agency. I mean, is there anything that maybe like you're used to seeing in the NFL or any of the sports over here that you'd think, it'd be interesting to see it tried over there?
Huh. That's certainly an interesting question. I think it would be interesting to see like a mid-season trade period kind of open up, right? I would really be interested, because I mean this season we had I think like Gold Coast and Carlton were just out for quite a while, but we're really really close to getting into finals and just kind of needed that little extra push, right? Especially Gold Coast after Raul went down so early. Um, yeah, that would be really interesting to see them open up like trade period just briefly, right? Uh, See how some teams could shake out. I think that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if anything else. I really do like the way that the sport functions. It's different, I guess, but it's certainly very very interesting, and I think it works fairly well for the most part.
Hmm. The other thing you got to keep on to of the AFL is all the rule changes. Have you seen
Yeah,
some of the rule changes? I have to admit, it's like I think they're messing with it a little too much. It's like let it settle for a little bit. I mean, COVID has been just kind of a nutso year, but
totally.
um, we're getting closer towards the end. But I gotta ask, with February comes the AFLW. Um, Any thoughts and any ideas of keeping an eye on the Geelong Cat women's team?
I would love to. I don't know a specific place to find that. They may have it on YouTube as well. But I would love to support the Geelong AFLW team. I'd also be fairly interested in Western, uh, the Bulldogs as a second team maybe, because I know they have an American. Um,
Danielle Marshall.
Denny Marshall, yeah,
Danny Marshall.
absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
So that'd be certainly interesting to follow. Uh, you know, I don't know that it's going to be on television, so I might have to do some research to find that.
Mhm. I know the biggest thing is if you ever do decide to invest in it, the Watch AFL app usually does broadcast the game. So if you
Oh,
were in
cool.
the market to maybe get that, I know they do broadcast the games because if I remember correctly, at least what I am aware of, you get the code for the new season in January, and their season will start February, March.
Awesome. That'd
Yep.
be
So
good to look
they,
into.
yeah. So that should be really cool there. Well, Jameson, this has been an awesome chat with you. This has been a lot of fun to learn from another American. Um, we're small but mighty. We're not exactly a massive group here, but I think many Australians appreciate this, and it's been really fun talking with you here. Um, Anything else you'd like to say to everybody out here? Uh, oh, you have a YouTube channel. I knew there was something I wanted to help you. You have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
You're reacting, and then maybe your Twitter account, just to have everybody get a hold of you that maybe want to start following this awesome Texan AFL fan.
Absolutely. So as a college student, I'm trying everything. I'm just enjoying my time here. So I decided, you know what, why not start a YouTube channel to react to some footy. Learn. It'll help me learn about it. Help me grow connections, just in the community. And, just to keep enjoying the game I've fallen in love with. So YouTube channel is just my name. It's Jamison Manziel. And then my Twitter is at lride34. Reason I chose that by accident. I was trying to put Let's Ride 34, and that was taken. Let's Ride is what my football team uses, our slogan. Uh, and I wore 34 for Earl Campbell, former Houston Oilers. But yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me. Keep up with what I'm doing, what I'm learning about the game. Other than that, Australians, Americans, AFL fans alike, thanks for welcoming me into your community. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you, sir. And then, are you with the Dallas Dingoes, or are you hopping on with the new North Texas Devils team?
Yeah, so joining the NTX Devils is going to cut an hour plus off of my commute just because of Dallas traffic. So I decided, you know what, let's get on the train. We're trying to build out DFW footy to be a premier kind of area, a hot spot for Aussie rules football, hopefully in the U.S. So I'm excited to see what we're growing here. Hopefully, I think a couple more teams may end up growing just by the attention that the NTX and Dallas and Houston, Austin, etc. Are going to end up bringing to the USAFL. So I'm hoping to play. I'm at least going to be part of the team, but a bum knee from football may keep me out of the oval. But either way, I'm excited to become a part of this.
Yeah, and the best thing is with most of these clubs is they always need people. They always need volunteers. They always need people around. So, please throw an extension to the NTX Devils that if they ever want to, Des Moines Roosters, we'd love to reach out, maybe figure out a way, maybe we can play each other so you and I can meet each other. Worst case scenario, we can meet each other at the Nationals. Hopefully next year we'll cross our
Mhm.
fingers this COVID thing gets taken care of. But you, sir, you have yourself a nice day. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.